We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Friday night. Welcome to Vikings Uncensored. We have reached the Kirk Cousins week, and Vikings social media has been losing its ever-loving flipping mind all week long. God, some of the stuff you read on this out here, you've got people out there. I got called a miserable human being with no life the other day because they said that somebody said that you can't boo Kirk Cousins when he comes to play. And I said, he's the enemy. He's playing for your opponent. You don't cheer for the other team. Because some guy has said, I hope Kirk has an excellent game. I hope that he, and this, that, and everything else. No, I hope Kirk goes out and throws 5 interceptions and gets sacked 12 times.
It's like I told you when we discussed this earlier in the week. You had messaged me about this, and yeah, former players, I want them to succeed, but never against us ever. Period.
Right. I mean, I love Adam Thielen. If we're playing the freaking Carolina Panthers, I hope he drops every ball that gets thrown his way, and the ones he does catch, he fumbles.
Yeah.
If they're not playing us, I don't care. Great.
Right. Yeah.
But for God's sakes, this whole thing, I know for a fact that there is going to be people that if Kirk Cousins plays his ass off on Sunday and beats Minnesota, they are going to come out of the fucking woodwork. See, we told you so. We shouldn't got rid of Kirk Cousins. Rah.
No, and it's the ones like us that haven't been like all. We call it like we see it with Kirk. We always did. But then once we say something, about Kirk and he's with Atlanta, all the Kirkistanis are like, why don't you just quit talking about him? He doesn't play about us. He doesn't play for us anymore. You guys are always talking about him. Yada yada yada. Well, when he goes and does good, then it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, you guys are so obsessed with Kirk. You hate him so much. You're so obsessed with him. Yeah, Drew, I am fired up because I've been in a mood all day long about this because I just watched and reading some of the stuff I've been seeing out there. Really, that's not the stupidest thing I heard this week.
Oh, shit.
The stupidest.
No, I know this. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you and I talked about this. The stupidest thing I heard this week was some Bears fan, somebody on I think they were on ESPN or some damn thing like that, floated the idea that the Chicago Bears need to trade for Kevin O'Connell.
That's the fucking most.
And then there were people who were actually saying, "Well, you've got to look at all the options on this and that, and it's worth considering." The fuck it is.
No, yeah, exactly. Finding a good head coach is just as hard as finding a fucking quarterback for your organization, in my opinion.
Okay, and the Vikings finally have a good coach who can work with quarterbacks. 2, when you have that good quarterback, why would you get rid of him? And 3, if you were going to get rid of him, you sure as hell wouldn't give him to a division rival.
Yep. 3 great points. 3 great points.
And God, I literally almost canceled.
I truly believe
canceled our Twitter a handle after I saw that. I'm like, okay, this has gotten so absolutely freaking off the wall stupid.
With that being said, Rhino, I truly believe we found a gem in Coach Kevin O'Connell as a head coach for our team. I think he's going to fit right on the Mount Rushmore of greatest coaches in Vikings history when all is said and done.
No, he's already, I mean, he's the fastest of any Vikings head coach to 30 wins. He got at 46. Denny Green, I think, was 48. Bud Grant was 50.
Yeah.
I mean, he's gone so far 10-2 this year with a team that every expert in the fucking world said was gonna top out at 6 wins.
Right. I believe, and I told you this too, and call me whatever you want, but I believe that Kevin O'Connell is the next coming of Andy Reid, in my opinion. And I hope we don't lose him to somebody else where he goes and wins a championship like Reid did. But O'Connell's well on his way to being a all-time great head coach in this league.
Well, I mean, we're not going to lose O'Connell. In order for O'Connell to leave, we'd have to fire him.
Right.
And by everything I have heard, the Wilfs and the front office and everybody in there absolutely loves O'Connell. They're not going to trade him to anybody. I don't care if they offer up 12 number 1 picks. You're not trading Kevin O'Connell.
Talk about removing the gloom that we had over this organization back in 2018 through 2020.
Yeah.
Definitely remove the gloom over this team that was there, that had been hanging there for far too long.
Well, 2021, that entire year was garbage. I mean, everything fell apart between Spielman and Zimmer and all that, it just, yeah, there is that, Robert. And that was one of the arguments I used, because it's the same people, some of the same people that said that you would have to look at this exercise are the same ones that are out there saying Kwesi sucks at fucking drafting. So you're going to trade away a sure thing at head coach for draft picks to give to a guy that everybody bitches about not being able to draft.
And the thing is, though, with that being said, Kwesi has made up for it with this past. Yeah.
I've heard
Kwesi has made up for it with just this past draft, plus the free agents he has been able to acquire since he's gotten here. And the undrafted prospects, the eye that the organization has for these guys that go undrafted that we're able to bring in and get something out of.
Yeah.
I think Kwesi's made up for his 2 drafts that he pretty much missed on. But this last draft that he had, he nailed it, in my opinion. And
yeah,
I mean, it's yet to be seen, but it's coming.
Yeah, and this free agent class, in my opinion, is one of the best free agent classes that the Vikings have ever had.
It might be one of the best free agent classes of the past decade in the NFL, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's arguably, I mean, Jonathan Gennard, Andrew Van Ginkel, Blake Cashman, Shaq Griffin, Aaron Jones,
Stephon Gilmore, Rhino.
Yeah.
Cap it off at the end there. Yeah, I mean, he's went out and got guys that fit this roster and what the coaches want for players and talent. And the thing is this is Kwesi's first fucking rodeo. He's still learning. He's still only 3 years in, and he proved this past offseason that he can do a good draft. Mm-hmm. The fact that he went out there and got the second first rounder was amazing. That was a great move. A great move on Kwesi's part to control that first round. And then come to find out, we got to use both those picks to get blue chippers. So he's going to get better at that aspect in the draft, but he has been rock solid when it's come to getting guys off the free agency market that fit the needs of this team.
Yeah.
And the way he structures contracts is very, very, very smart for this organization.
Yeah, well, and that's the kind of guys he's targeting are those ones coming off of their first contract, just entering their prime. What's that?
Another good one by Robert that we didn't mention. Down there at the bottom,
Shaq Griffin, yeah, I mentioned him.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for listening, Brunswick. Jeez.
I know. Where am I?
I don't know.
I think you all know where I'm at, but
right.
I'm here still.
Anyway, so rant over on the stupidity part for now. We'll talk more about the Falcons in a little bit. But some good news, and then some other. I got one other rant I'm going to have to go on here in just a minute. But first off, though, Jonathan Gennard named NFC Defensive Player of the Month for the month of
fantastic.
November.
I didn't see it coming, but well deserved.
Yeah, I mean, the guy is, exceeded all expectations on, what we thought we were going to get out of him. I mean, thought he was going to be good, but I mean, not as good as he has been.
This defense is on track to have multiple players with double-digit sack, numbers.
We could have multiple players with double-digit sacks this week.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. I'm just saying.
Right.
We are on track to have multiple players on this defense end the season with double-digit sack totals.
Yeah, well, right now
the interception numbers are one of the tops in the league. Yeah,
right now, as far as the sacks go, the two best tandems in the NFL are Grenard and Van Ginkel and Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson. So with that whole deal of letting Hunter go and getting Grenard, it worked out for both teams, really.
You know what? I mean, I could sing the praises of this defense, but the guy that's been around for quite some time since O'Connell's been here, Byron Murphy, going out and having himself a season.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, to Drew's point here, Vikings are getting no respect, and I love it. Just keep being the quietest ass.
Absolutely. The only 10-win team not getting any respect.
Last night was a perfect example. Detroit goes out and should have gotten beat by Green Bay. And
Chicago too, but they can't
and they should have gotten beat by Chicago. And everybody's out there saying, Detroit, they're, gotta love Dan Campbell and his aggressiveness and this and everything else. And they're figuring out they're decimated by injuries and pulling out wins. And the Vikings do the same thing. And the Vikings frauds, fakes, lucky, fake, fraud. I mean, shut up.
Yep. And the thing is if we can really hit that peak that we've been talking about right now the last few weeks, as far as the team goes, we are the best team in the NFC.
Yeah, what I've seen out of Detroit the last couple of weeks, they got injuries, but they're coming back to earth a little bit, and they're beatable.
We're never out of a game.
No,
a resilient team. And I remember back in the first few weeks of the season, Belichick wanted to see what this team could do and been playing from behind. I think we've learned. I don't think we're ever out of the game.
No.
Even like last week when you felt like we might be out of that Arizona game, I said, watch out. We're going to sneak back into this if Arizona lets us. And what did we do? We turned around and we went out and got that fucking win.
Yep.
Sam Darnold. Fourth quarter, Sam Darnold, man.
Yeah, he's been
fire.
He has been Darnold Schwarzenegger the last two fourth quarters.
That's almost great. That's a good one. Darnold Schwarzenegger for sure.
Yeah. So a couple other news things here I want to hit quick, and then we'll get into some of the other stuff.
One more thing. I got to spot it out with Darnold.
Yeah.
10 plus games with over 100 passer rating. I think there's only
tied for the most in Vikings history with Dante Culpepper in 2000, Brett Favre in 2009.
He could get the record. He could get the NFL record if he keeps it up.
He can get I mean, he's going to.
I think it's 14. I think it's 14 is the set record for quarterback rating over 100. He's 4 games away with what? 6 to go? 5 to go?
5 to go.
Yeah.
I mean, he can hopefully he'll set the Vikings record this week.
Yeah.
But a couple other things here. Hall of Fame. Jared Allen has made it to. He's not inducted yet, but he's still alive in the semifinalists or finalist list or whatever. But of course, we come to find out that Jim Marshall and Chuck Foreman both got fucked over again and are not going to be.
Well, Allen made it in. So
well, he's not in yet. They don't announce the finalists until end of the month, I think.
I think he's as good as Golden. I think Allen's in.
Hopefully we get him in, but
I think so too, Bob. Robert, I agree. I think Detroit's going to lose to the Bills, and I think they're going to win. I think they're going to lose another one too before season's end. We need them to lose a game before season's end because if we We need to meet them at the end of the season with a tied record or them game back is what we need to do. Hopefully.
Yeah, Dave, I've been seeing this. The whole thing about Packer fans whining about Jared Goff knee was down at the goal.
That repping was shit, but
it was. But that play at the end of the game, it was perfectly legal. He got tripped and fell.
Yeah.
The only way the ball is dead is if you literally give yourself up like you're taking a kneel down, not falling on the ground. That it's college, yeah, he would have been down, but this is the NFL. That rule does not exist.
I don't know, Steven. I mean, San Francisco is kind of a garbage dumpster fire right now in their own right.
Yes, San Francisco's. I mean, they're on life support right now.
I don't feel confident placing my bets on San Francisco like I would have maybe earlier on in the season. But
yeah, I mean, San Francisco. I mean, I saw again against Chicago this week that Trent Williams is out again, and I think Bosa is doubtful as well. So, and then McCaffrey is hurt again, and
well, it's getting to the point where a lot of these teams that aren't going to make the playoffs are going to start packing it in.
Yeah.
So, seeing what they got out of the youngsters on their roster and stuff like that.
Yep. So the only other we'll get back to some of those later again as well, but the only other news item I wanted to talk to is just the issues with former Viking legend Randy Moss. He was on a couple weeks ago on ESPN and mentioned that he's dealing with some health issues, right. And announced today that he was stepping back, taking a leave of absence to try to deal with the issues.
Extended leave, so it's going to be a while.
Yep. Now it hasn't said. I haven't heard exactly what it is. I think it's something internal, but something to do with his vision and something else.
Yeah, some fans had noticed some yellowing in the whites of his eyes during the broadcast, and that's what they mentioned. And then after that, he went.
Yeah, and he said he was going to be wearing glasses on the set, and then all of a sudden, a week later, he's taking a leave. So
right.
Best wishes to him, and hopefully he gets whatever it is figured out and
well wishes and prayers. Absolutely.
Yep. Then
yeah, true too, Steven. I truly believe in that. The last message that he's got right down there, I believe in that a lot.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, which is why you can't take any of these games for granted. I mean, especially like I said this year. The NFL is a one-score league. 80% of the games end up, 7 points or less.
All these teams are professional teams. These are the best players of the best players that play in the NFL. So, yeah, that's a lot of truth to that any given Sunday motto there.
So, yeah, a couple other things. I guess the Vikings also signed a cornerback this week, brought Kelvin Joseph back to the team. Of course, he was the guy that we had gotten from Dallas in that Andrew Booth trade in the preseason. Gilmore out this week, so they brought back one just as a field filler, if nothing else. Then also signed offensive tackle Coy Cronk, formerly of Jacksonville, to the practice squad. So I think Henry Bird was designated with an injury or something, so he's IR, so they filled the roster spot anyway with that. But ran it on about news stuff for long enough. You have anything you wanted to hit quick on the Cardinals game before we move ahead to Arizona or to Atlanta? I mean,
to Atlanta. Just a resilient game. I mean, if you haven't watched the game, watch it from the middle of the third quarter on, because those first three, like we had mentioned during the watching the game and going back and forth amongst each other. It felt like we were sleepwalking for 3/4 of that game before finally and we had went on last week about how the offense has been looking so good and that they're starting to find themselves. Well, it took them about 3 quarters to get back to that form last week, but Arizona's a sneaky team, they really are, and they're not bad. They just get some tough breaks. I mean, we only beat them by the 1 score last week, so which 80% of the games this year have been determined by 1 score or less.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a resilient win. And it wasn't the prettiest thing, but I'll take a ugly win over a pretty loss. So any day.
Drew with a very, very good question here. Drew, I wish I knew the answer to that.
And it's so crazy because in the fourth quarter of that game, it seemed like everything we were doing on offense was just clicking. Like we just came to life out of nowhere.
It's almost like, and I'm not comparing us to them because they've earned the right to do this, and it's almost like Kansas City sometimes. They just kind of go through the motions.
You're not the only one that's mentioned this. There's national pundits out there saying the same thing.
Yeah, and then when it comes down to crunch time, it's okay, let's turn it on now, and we'll go in and close the game
knock
out.
on wood, but we have not been blasted by anybody yet this year, really. Just land blasted out of the fucking wherever we're playing. So
absolutely correct, Robert. We'd have lost that game last week if Zimmer was coaching.
And as Vikings, if you've been watching the Vikings throughout your entire life and have been an avid Vikings fan, we tend to, I don't know what it is, Rhino, and I think you know what I'm about to say here, but we tend to play down to opponents, and doesn't matter who it is.
No, and that's always been something the Vikings have done.
It's a stigma. I don't know what it is. We need to break that stigma. But yeah, there's only been a handful of seasons where I've been a fan, and I've been a fan for going on 35 years here. And there's only been a handful of seasons where, as an offense, we've just played with our balls hanging out and just, knocked teams out of the water. Whereas most of the time, the other 85 to 80% of the time, we're just playing down to whoever it is that we're going up against. It doesn't matter what the talent on the team.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I mean, you had 98, 09 to an extent, even though Childress tried not to do it. Favre said screw it and did it anyway. 17, kind of. And other than that, yeah, it's playing it close to the vest, it seems like, no matter who the coach or the players are.
Yeah, it's just about putting it all together. I don't know what it is. It's putting it all together, being maybe a little bit more aggressive, or I don't know what it is. But it's just, if we can put it all together, this team is the most dangerous team in the NFC.
And some of this, I don't know if, some of the teams that we played earlier in the season that we thought was the absolute gauntlet, maybe turning out that wasn't necessarily the case, looking at where they're at now. And some of the teams now that, we thought were going to be pushovers, they have good defenses, and there's 12 weeks of tape out on Sam Darnold now. And Darnold struggled for a couple of weeks there, but to his credit, he's turned it around. And, ever since
really turned it around. Yeah.
Ever since that awful game against Jacksonville, which we were lucky to win.
He's a top 10 quarterback in most statistics right now.
Yeah, I mean, his statistics are very comparable to Jared Goff's, and they're talking. Jared Goff is being talked about as an MVP favorite, and Sam Darnold is just it's just Sam Darnold.
And that was a lot. That has a lot to do with the month of October, I believe. I really do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's not even about. Yeah, it is about setting the tone, but I mean, you can get off to those fast starts, but keep it going. Like, it seems like we either get out to a fast start and we die off, or we get out to a slow start and don't start fast until towards the end of the game. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, we have yet to put.
It's about playing a fucking full 2 halves of a game, not just 1 half.
Yeah. Or like last week,
What Brian said. Yes, exactly. We're on the same page.
So anyway, since we've been ranting a lot on it already, let's just roll right into the Falcons stuff here. Injury-related stuff to start with. Stephon Gilmore, like we mentioned, is out. Harrison Phillips and Pat Jones, Andrew Van Ginkel, and Dalton Reisner all listed as questionable.
We have the ability, Robert. We just need to put it all together.
Yep, absolutely. Will Richard and Andrew DePaula are both listed as questionable, but sounds like they'll probably both be back this week, which means that'll have to happen tomorrow. They'd have to release Parker Romo and then activate Richard.
Parker Romo's going to catch on somewhere, whether it be at the end of this year or going into. He deserves to be a kicker in this league.
Yeah, he absolutely does. He's more than proved that.
Yes. Yes, and I wish the best for him. I mean, if it wasn't for having Ricardo on the team and we were kind of looking, he'd be our guy.
Yeah, I mean, when's the last time you can say that the Vikings had an abundance of good kickers?
And a kicker that literally came in off the street and won us some games with his leg alone.
Yeah.
So very grateful.
Yeah, if Aaron Jones stopped opening the game with a fumble, that'd be great. I guess Aaron Jones's mother got after him pretty good this week.
Yeah.
And
apparently now he's carrying around babies.
Yeah.
So he doesn't fumble.
Been making him carry his kids around, so that he learns not to drop the ball. And
it's not characteristic though of Aaron Jones throughout his career to have these fumbling issues.
No, he never really had fumbling problems. I think he had 5 fumbles his entire career, and now
and that's coming from Packers fans that have been saying that it's uncharacteristic for him to have these fumbles.
Yeah, absolutely, they did. Norris Fias McQuaid filled in admirably as well. So, it was good to be able to find to have those guys kind of in our back pocket to bring in when we had the problem, but.
To step up and show out for sure.
Exactly. But yeah, rolling into the Falcon stuff, of course, the biggest news, like we started off the show with Kirk Cousins making his return to Minnesota.
We've got to discuss this as the week has gone on too together.
Yeah.
So,
this is going to go one of two ways. Either Kirk is going to come in and he's going to get absolutely annihilated, or he's going to throw for 400 yards.
Right. Yeah.
I've seen people. Oh, go ahead.
I don't see this being a close game. I don't. I see it like you said it. Either we're going to go in there and stomp him, or Kirk's going to go out and he's going to have like a 450-yard game with 3 touchdowns. So I really don't anticipate this being a close nail biter, ass squeezing type of game. I feel like it's going to be wide open at the end as far as one team goes.
Yeah, I
believe that team's going to be us.
Yeah,
so,
I think so.
Kirk was really throwing some ugly balls last week.
Yeah, and he was behind. And you and I talked about this too. I don't know that Achilles ever fully healed properly, and
the one thing that we also talked about is that Achilles isn't off his release foot; it's on his planting foot.
Mm-hmm.
Where other areas is Rodgers was on his left foot, where Kirk's is on his right, and that's the one that you plant off of.
Yeah,
and that's where you get your velocity and your strength and all that when it comes to your throws and just mechanics. So,
that being said, Kirk has had some good games this.
Yeah, he just had a 500-yard game, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah. Drew doesn't think much about your 450 yards. Yeah, I don't think he's going to either. And I saw this, and the Kyrgyzstan army came out of the woodwork again. The last remaining holdouts all did the Avengers Assemble this week, it seems like, and there was somebody was on there about that. Well, he knows Flores' defense. He went up against Flores every day in practice. And I forget who was up here that mentioned it earlier, that Kirk hasn't gone against this version of Flores' defense.
The personnel is a complete difference. Is completely different.
Yep. He has, and
Brian, I just feel like we're due. I know all 80% of the games have been 1-score games in the league this year, but I feel like we are due for a game where we get a double score win. And if it's going to be one of these games coming up here, I feel like it's going to be against the Kirk Cousins led Atlanta Falcons team.
Yeah, this would be a great game to finally hit 40 points this year. Atlanta's defense is nothing spectacular. They're pretty much middle of the road.
Hot and cold. They really do. They run hot and cold.
Yeah. Well, one of their starting cornerbacks is our old buddy Mike Hughes.
Yeah, he'll be lined up against Addison this weekend.
Yeah, and if that's the case, Jordan Addison is going to eat his lunch.
And Jesse Bates is the best player on that defense. He is the best player on that defense, and he's in one of my keys later on, and I'll get to that.
They've got guys on. They had Grady Jarrett up at defensive tackle, Matthew Judon, who had his best years, of course, elsewhere, but still a good player. Bates, as you mentioned, that Justin Simmons, is kind of a
He's pretty good. Yeah.
yeah. Kirk Melton, the pressure cooker. That's absolutely true, Josh. And I think the pressure cooker is going to be turned up a lot this week. Kirk may have been going against this, a variant of this defense last year, but also when he's going against this, he's got that red jersey on and they weren't allowed to hit him.
Right.
And we have all seen it countless times in the past 6 years where when you start hammering Kirk Cousins and knocking him around, get inside his head, and he falls apart. And that's when you get
he's a robot. He's a robot quarterback.
Yep. Make him play off script because he can't do it.
Again, and he does not have that pocket of, evasiveness like Darnold has. And we've all seen it this year.
Yep.
If the sack is coming, Kirk is going to take it.
Yeah, because he's going to sit there and he holds the ball longer than Darnold does, it seems a lot of times. But
Darnold has an escapability, that Kirk doesn't.
Oh, and we saw that last week a couple of times. He spun out of a potential sack.
And then when I made a player, I just safely threw the ball out of bounds.
Yep. And that's one thing Darnold's doing now that he wasn't doing earlier, when he was turning the ball over a lot.
He's living to see the next play, basically.
Yep. But, and looking at Cousins, when it came down to crunch time, again, last week he did, what he did for us in that wild card game against the Giants. He's done it at least twice this year now.
Throwing short of the sticks.
Yeah, it's coming down to fourth down, and there's, with it, trying to drive for either a tying or a winning score, and he throws the ball short of the sticks with very little chance of it.
4th and 7 last week. What did Sam Darnold do?
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant.
He got the first down, and we kept on going, and we went down there, and we won the fucking game.
Yeah. I didn't see any underneath routes, though, either. I don't know. I don't even know why they gave Kirk that option to throw those underneath routes at that point in the game.
Yeah, if I was the offensive coordinator for a Kirk Cousins-led team, in those things, I would make sure that everybody that goes out in the pattern is running past the sticks.
Yeah.
Because I don't care if you put an offensive tackle out there, he's going to throw to that offensive tackle short of the sticks.
Yeah. Yep.
Only way Casey has success versus us if Robinson and
got that in my case coming up here too.
Yeah. And Bijan Robinson is absolutely capable of doing that. But
I think it's just they don't ride Robinson enough there in Atlanta. I don't know why they don't feature him more in that offense.
Yeah, I mean last year, they didn't do it at all last year, it seemed like, and
the guy is a guy waiting to explode and have a monster season, in my opinion. Look at what going to Philly's done for Barkley.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen with Robinson. If they keep using him in this way, he's going to go somewhere else and he's going to explode.
Yeah. And he's going to have the least amount of tread burnt off the tires because they never freaking use him or rarely use him.
They need to keep going to him throughout the entire game and watch it be us on Sunday.
Yeah, no, I mean, to the Vikings' credit, they have done a good job for the most part all year long against opposing running backs. And hopefully, this week Robinson's not the one to go off on it because if they can get the run going, because Cousins can run off the play action, then they're going to be tough to beat.
And Robinson has that rare combination of speed and power. He can not only run you over or run through you, but he can run past you pretty damn quick as well.
Mm-hmm. And to Drew's point here, he's a very good receiver out of the backfield too. So that screen game.
We've been great against the screen this year, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Open field tackling goes a long way in that too.
Yeah. Now, like last week and a couple of different times here we've seen in the past couple of weeks, the tackling hasn't been overly great. They're failing, they're making contact, but they're not wrapping them up and taking them down. And you got to do that.
We're one of the better tackling teams in the league, but this last week especially. But James Conner, man, he's a fucking animal. He doesn't get enough. He's underrated, I believe.
Yeah, and Connor's had a great year, and They did a pretty good job on him.
Yeah, the complete game hasn't been since the Houston game, in my opinion, and that was week 3.
Yeah,
yeah, that was our last complete game. But I mean, we've been resilient. We played good football, but with the fact that we keep letting teams back in or they could sniff, tying it up or getting a win is not acceptable.
No, it's not. Time. I mean, at the end of the day, all that matters is that we won. It doesn't matter how we won, but I agree with you, Brian. And
it'd be nice to establish an identity, is what it is all about.
And right now we have an identity as a team that is going to go play close games, but it would be nice to go out there.
We started out the year shot out of a cannon. We need to get back to that. Our offense. I mean, and then outside of last week, the prior 2 weeks, our offense, I thought, was starting to find itself, and that kind of came back at the fourth quarter. But that's just it. That it's got to be a consistency there on the offense. It can't be so hot and cold,
Right. Yeah, Steven. Yeah, I mean, against Arizona last week, the running game was almost non-existent, which I think was part of the problem why the pass game wasn't working until later, because you couldn't run play action. You couldn't. Rusher. What's that?
I think Darnold might have been the leading rusher last week.
Yeah, because Jones only had at least through the first 3 quarters, he only had 22 yards or something like that. Now part of that was he got benched for a while there because of that fumble, but Akers didn't really do much, and Chandler didn't, in the little time he got in there either. So
Akers had a nice little run, but yeah.
But then the week before, Jones went over 100 against.
I really I loved it when you gotta have moments, and how this is just KOC really using his brain, but putting Ham in there at AHB for the better pass protection. Spot on. One of these times, handing the ball. I love when Ham gets the ball. He came into the league as a halfback, converted to fullback right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been there since however long after the first season he was here.
Right.
But I like that. In the fourth, I mean, I would I play it more often earlier in the games,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Ham as an extra pass protector at halfback, I love it.
Yeah.
So,
Norrisfius, great point here as well. I mean, they run tempo a little bit once in a while.
They definitely do run tempo a lot. I think so.
But when they do it, it seems like it works. So yeah, to your point, I think
I've seen Brown going like this a lot this year. Let's keep going. Let's keep rolling.
So mix it in a little bit more. Don't just wait till the third or fourth quarter when you're, mix it in the first quarter. Go out there on the opening drive and run tempo, no huddle the first drive all the way down. Aaron Jones on Sunday, 120 and 2 rushing touchdowns. I would love to see that, Drew.
That'd be the best game so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, that would be absolutely huge.
120 from scrimmage, yeah, that would be, that's fine. But 120 rush yards would be huge.
Yeah. Because if we can get success on the ground like that and we get a guy over 100, then that's going to open up the passing game. And I mean, that's going to bode really well.
Kirk has a good point too there. You do, Brian. That makes, it's all situational though. It really is. If your offense is moving and, after the first couple of plays, then keep going up tempo. But if you feel like the drive is stalling out, then I don't know. It's all situational. It's all situational.
Yeah, it's not something that you want to run all the time because to your point, if you're marching up and down the field and
you don't want your defense gassed and fucking coming into the fourth quarter.
No, but if you got a favorable matchup with the defense that's on the field, you run that tempo for a few plays to keep them from swapping out, and rotating players.
And to keep those that defensive line on their heels.
Yeah,
the defensive line that you're going against.
Yeah, and that all goes right back to the situational stuff you were just talking about. That if you get in a favorable situation, keep hitting that until they prove they can stop it.
I absolutely hate Green Bay. We all do here. But last night was a good example of running that up-tempo offense because they were down there in the goal line, and they ran up-tempo. And Detroit wasn't even set defensively. And they ran a run play, and Jacobs just walked right in. So it's all situational.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was, we got burned on that in the Chicago game.
Yeah, we did.
At the end of the game there, they started, running the tempo, and we weren't on that
Commentators
touchdown.
called us
We
out
weren't
on
even
it too.
set.
Yeah, the Mike color commentators called us out on it on national or on television about it as well. It is.
It absolutely is.
Especially
Now,
with the way that we're playing football.
Yep.
Right now.
Yeah, and with our defense, playing like it is and all that movement and everything else, yeah, you do need to give those guys a breather and let the offense go out there and run an 8 to 10 play drive, or burn some time off the clock. And if you can't run the ball, it's harder to do that unless you start mixing in the short passes and stuff like that. And some of those are like a run. But
I want to hit on Jared's comment there that he just made. I don't know that I see JJ having a chase type of game, but I could definitely see Addison having one. Well, I mean, JJ's seeing fucking triple teams right now at this point, and his opportunities are far in between. Whereas I think Addison, with Jefferson seeing all that attention, I think Addison is very capable of having a 200-yard plus game, 3 touchdowns, 2 touchdowns.
Well, I was
a pipe dream, but I mean, he's gotten close once this season. He got loose against the Bears.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about this today when I was doing some show prep. With the secondary that Atlanta has, talking Mike Hughes and I forget who their other cornerback is, but AJ Terrell. Those guys can't play man against Jefferson and Addison. So they're going to be playing.
They aren't elite. They are not elite.
No. So, I mean, they're going to be playing a lot more zone. And if you can time it right, you get Jefferson loose in those holes in the zone. I think, he could be easily sitting on a very big game this week too. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying he's not capable of having a big game, but I think I would more expect it out of Addison than JJ at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with you because, as we saw, if they're going to be putting all the emphasis on Jefferson, then yeah, Addison's going to break open. And
if they're throwing an extra defender in a blitz against Darnold, and Darnold has been the best quarterback against the blitz this year in the NFL.
Yeah.
Then I mean, Darnold's going to find that guy, whoever.
Yeah, and if they're playing zone, that's going to open up holes for Hawkinson too. Hawks could be sitting on a big game here too. I think we can easily have at least 2 guys over 100 yards this week.
I think Sam's still getting better. I mean, he's really started to settle into this offense pretty well.
Yeah.
And the whole not throwing, he hasn't thrown a pick in 3 weeks. Knock on wood. But he's really settling down and into this offense. And he's, like you said, he's been throwing the ball away when it needs to get thrown away and living to see the next play. He's not forcing things anymore. And he's spreading the ball out, which he wasn't doing earlier in the year. I think this team it will be the team that we need it to be at the end of the season going into the playoffs.
Yeah. And that's the key. We're right now, the Vikings are sitting at a 98% chance of making the playoffs, and we're still the actual betting money for value is actually still on the Vikings to get the 1 seed yet. I don't get into all the gambling and the bets and all that stuff because I suck at gambling, but I was listening to some national people this week, and that when people were talking up Detroit and all that other stuff, they had one guy come on there. He said, "I'm not putting money on Detroit." He said, "The money's on Minnesota right now to
see." The thing is everybody knows what Detroit is. Everybody knows they are what they are. We haven't gotten to that point yet, and that's just it. Are we going to get there? Are we going to take that? Are we going to be that team that takes that next step? And I'd rather have that happen, at least happen than not happen at all. Because if we take that next step and we pull it all together, we start playing with the consistency that I know that we can, this team isn't going to get beat. This team is not going to go down without fighting. And it already isn't. The resiliency is already there. But that's what makes this team scary.
Yep, absolutely. But with that, let's roll into our keys to the game. What we think the Vikings must do in order to secure a victory on Sunday. So, as always, I will give you the floor first, Mr. Brunswick.
You have to excuse me this week. I'm not as thorough this week as I have been in the previous. So these are still good keys. Don't get me wrong, but anyways, in no particular order, my keys to victory this week. The offensive line is what will set the tone this game. They need to play physical throughout all 4 quarters. They need to set the tone right away out the gate. Number 2, Sam Darnold needs to stay hot and keep this steady hand that he's had the last 3 weeks. Stay settled in that offense. Don't let it take what the defense gives you and don't let it become too much. No boneheaded plays, and the last 3 weeks he's been pretty good about avoiding those. Avoid throwing the ball in Jesse Bates' direction. He is a game wrecker on defense and has had a stellar year this season. Last season it was kind of rocky. When he's back with the Bengals, great player. But this year he's really stepped it up again, and he's showing why he's one of the elite safeties in this league. Do not let Bijan Robinson get comfortable and start rolling. We need to keep Atlanta one-dimensional. Do not let Robinson get rolling. Do not let him get comfortable. Keep him one-dimensional. Make Kirk try to beat us. Again, hang on to the damn football. It would be nice to have this game be the game where we quit turning the ball fucking over and giving the opposing teams chances to hop out in front. It's got to stop somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to stop somewhere. Every single week, we are turning the ball over at least once. Like I said, from last week, I can't tell you when the last time it was that we did not turn the ball over offensively. It's been a long time. Great, Drew. And my last but not least, get back on track on offense from 2 weeks ago. Those 2 weeks that will go. You put 2 weeks in the bucket. Up until that Arizona game, you put in 2 great performances by the offense, and we need to get back on track. So we do all those things. We're going to walk out Sunday with the victory.
Yep. For my keys, I'll go to Dave here for my first one. Knock Kirk off his spot. Hit Kirk early, hit Kirk often. Make him play out of structure, because we all know that that is not his strong suit. And when you make him do that stuff, that's when he's going to go do those 3-yard checkdowns on 3rd and 9, or,
Could I slip in here for a second, Rhino, and go off of you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just as much as Kirk knows this defense and this team knows Kirk.
Oh, absolutely. And that was part of what I was just about to get to here, okay. That Kevin O'Connell, Brian Flores know Kirk Cousins probably better than Kirk Cousins knows Kirk Cousins.
Bingo.
Kevin O'Connell was the one to figure out how to unlock Kirk Cousins last year and the year before. So they know what makes him tick. They know how to get inside his head. They know how to do all that stuff. And I think that Flores is going to go out there and Cousins is going to just melt under the pressure. Mm-hmm. I think they're going to have something special fixed up for him this week. And, I'm looking multiple sack game. I'm hoping a couple of turnovers.
Riley coming in with a good comment.
Yeah, there is that. We didn't do a good job. We didn't do a good job of getting to Kyler Murray last week. The week before he got sacked 5 times, and what did we get, 2 last week? I think was it.
Yeah.
But my second point, don't let this kind of plays off yours. Don't let Bijan Robinson beat you. Like Drew talked about earlier, not just in the run game, but the guy is a hell of a pass catcher out of the backfield.
He has a playmaker.
Yeah, so you got to keep him contained, and you keep him contained. That's going to make him one-dimensional and going to make it that much harder on Kirk. Our offensive line, to that point, and I think Riley brought this up a little bit earlier, that we gave up 5 sacks against Arizona last week, and Arizona is not known for getting a lot of sacks. That interior of the line is struggling. Bradbury is playing like the Bradbury of old.
Brandel even looked atrocious last week at times.
Yeah, and you know, according to PFF, Dalton Reisner didn't allow pressure last week, but
I was gonna say I thought about this earlier in the week. Fucking 2 smacks in the back for Reisner coming in and just solidifying that right guard spot. It has looked much, much better since Reisner's been slid into that spot.
Yeah. Yeah, Brian on there. That was my, so, Drake London and, the unicorn Kyle Pitts. Both of those guys are very good pass catchers. So you got to be able to contain those guys and limit what they're doing. And if you're getting to Kirk early, I mean, that's going to make it that much easier on that part of it.
That's a great point, Drew.
Yep. Atlanta's last in sacking the quarterback. Yeah. And that's the thing. As long as, like I said last week, Arizona's not very good at sacking the quarterback either. And they got 5. We better not give up 5 sacks to Atlanta this week.
No.
Algiers runs like a truck. Don't let him. Yeah, that's absolutely right there. So yeah, it's not just Bijan, it's the run game in general, but Bijan Robinson,
if they would just utilize that run game a little bit more, they'd be, I think, a little bit more balanced and better off.
Yep. And like I preach every week, turnovers, take care of the ball on our side of the things and create them on the other side. Those 2 turnovers we caused last week late against Kyler Murray were the difference in the game.
Yeah, huge.
Huge. Shaq Griffin
almost had we almost had 3 with that Grenard strip sack.
Mm-hmm.
That could have been 3 right there.
Yeah. Cardinals just got the lucky bounce back on that one, but
what a great timeout call by O'Connell too at the end of the game there to get Grenard back in the game.
Yep.
Brilliant.
Yeah, because he was gassed there at the end, and Grenard was sick during that game. So I mean, he was out there soldiering on, playing hard, and under the weather. So I mean,
yeah,
the guy is a player. He's going to be out there. He's going to be giving it as long as he possibly can.
All heart.
Yeah, I mean the Vikings have had a
first thing, Rhino, that you said, we left too much time on the clock.
Yeah.
What I tell you, defense needs to go out and play defense, and they did.
No, yeah, and I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little concerned about that too. But the defense does what it has done more times than not the last couple of years, gone out and made that, that key play at the end to shut the door on it.
I had mentioned something like that earlier in the week to Rhino. I want to beat Kirk Cousins so bad that Atlanta just benches his ass. And there's a lot of Atlanta fans out there right now screaming for Penix at quarterback.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, there was rumors that they were, at least the fan base anyway, wanted him benched after last week. But
no, I don't wish that we go out there and violently just fucking, cook him and injure him so that he gets benched. I want us to go out there and make him look so bad in the way that he plays that the coach has no other option but to put Penix into the game.
I don't want to see Penix in the game. I want to see Kirk have to suffer his way through the entire game and do another 4th down throw short of the sticks just to, hopefully
floaters that he was throwing last week were just ugly. It's a lot like Peyton Manning in his last year coming into the league, but Peyton Manning had that mental, better than any quarterback that's ever played the game. Right. So he was able to overcome his physical setbacks. But Cousins right now looks like he is washed. According to the game from last week, anyways, those picks were ugly and made Darnold's picks look like they were, okay.
Yeah, and he was behind on his timing was off and everything last week. Now, he could come out this week and absolutely look, sharp as hell, but
yeah.
Yeah, so that's it. And then my other key is get the play action going. Take some of those short throws again. I've been saying this for the last three weeks
I
too.
agree,
Take what
North.
the defense is going to be giving you. If it's open underneath to Hawkinson, just dink and dunk the damn thing down the field. If it's, because eventually they're going to have to start pulling people up on those. And that's when you hit Addison or Jefferson up over the top for a huge gain. And you start doing that, then they got their defense guessing, and you're well on your way at that point. So I think Hawkinson is sitting on a big game this week. And wouldn't surprise me to see Jefferson and or Addison, both get higher up in the numbers as well. So
yeah, I was looking at that.
This is a great point, Norrisfius. I was going to talk about this and I completely forgot about it. Fabian Moreau came in and played
ice cold.
Well.
He came in ice cold. Yep. The guy came in ice cold off the bench.
Yeah,
and that one defensive pass interference, the one of the two defensive pass interferences that got called was really ticky-tacky in my opinion.
Yeah, it was. The first one, that shouldn't have been. I mean, he had his hand on him, but he wasn't impeding his progress at all.
No, and he wasn't spinning him around or anything like that. He just had his hand on him, and that got called.
No, second
the one that was down the field, yeah, that was that.
Second one was pass interference, but
yeah,
the first one was pretty ticky-tack. Hit Kirk so hard he thinks he's in Washington. Yeah. Sammy D with the game on the line, looks like it for his top player and got the ball, made a play, 4th and 7. Exactly. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. When we needed that. We needed that fourth down.
Rewind about 25 minutes, and you'll hear us hit the same thing that you're talking about there, Sarah.
Been saying that since VU started. Yeah, I have, Drew, and I'll keep beating that drum as long as we go here. But
what's that? What have you been saying?
I've been saying a lot of stuff for 4 years.
Right.
Moreau outside the 1 PI. Look me up.
Outside of that one drive where they picked on him the entire drive, he looked pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're not wrong on this one either, Norrisfius. That it could have probably been a touchdown if he hadn't done that. So sometimes those are. Taking a penalty is smart, but Nympha, good evening, good morning in the Philippines. But yes, I mean, I think that's my keys to all this. And, we take care of the ball. It all boils down to taking care of the ball, not killing yourself with penalties. And I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, I agree. Well, going to the very, very exciting,
yes,
right, well anticipated,
fairly famous, regionally watched by tens and tens of people every week. The predictions segment, where we not only talk about the score for the upcoming Minnesota Vikings game, but also the games featuring our rivals in the NFC North as well. Now, of course, we already had 2 of the 4 play last night as the Detroit Lions played the Green Bay Packers. And, we all know how that turned out. We talked about that a little bit later. One thing I do want to mention up again is fuck Kirby Joseph. You see him try to take out Tucker Kraft last night?
Yeah.
But the funny part about it was Kraft knew it was coming and he dodged it. And then when he got hit by somebody else, he did that bounce up back on the.
Yeah,
but
a kip up.
Yep. But Kirby Joseph was radar locked on his knees. You could see it.
Yeah,
I don't wish for injury for players. Because I don't think that's right. But it is not going to hurt my feelings one bit when one of these days Kirby Joseph gets his ass fucking crumpled.
50 on Atlanta for me to shave my beard, Rhino. I don't see it happening, but my beard, man, I'm such a baby face. But yeah,
it'll grow back.
Yeah, if we hang 50 on Atlanta, I'll shave my beard. I'll go fresh face.
He'll shave it on the air next weekend.
There you go. There you go. If we hang 50 on land, I'll shave it on air next week. Oh, I'll miss you.
Yeah, Sarah is everywhere. She's always in the chats and always comes in firing. That's the same tonight. Always great to have Sarah in the chat. She brings the heat every time she comes in.
Josh with the bold take there.
28-3. I like it.
Speaking of Josh Mickey, I started watching the Vikings with this kid. I know this kid personally, or this guy personally. Some of my best times watching Vikings games was with Josh. So thanks for watching the show, Josh.
Yeah.
Following us.
All right. So anyway, back to the prediction stuff. The other game still to be played for the NFC North this week is Sunday at 3:25 p.m. Chicago Bears traveling to Levi Stadium to take on the San Francisco 49ers.
That's going to be closer. I could see Chicago going out with the win here. That San Francisco team is playing some pretty shitty ball right now. You got George Kittle dropping passes. Purdy's not really playing the greatest right now either. I just think they're ready they're one of those teams that are ready to pack it in my opinion.
Yeah. And we mentioned, Trent Williams out again Sunday. Bosa probably not going to play. Of course, the big news we never really talked about was that the Bears finally fired Matt Eberflus after that Thanksgiving Day debacle. Will they get a little bit of a bump from the that interim coach bump that we see a lot of times?
Thomas Brown, right? The guy that took over.
Yeah, he took over as OC, and now he took over as interim head coach for the rest of the year. I mean, Chicago is an absolute dumpster fire. Kevin Warren running the show there is, he ran the Big Ten halfway into the ground, and now he's working on doing it with Chicago. I was listening to Colin Cowherd on the way home just because my sports radio was limited up here, and that was the only sports talk that was going on about football right now.
As much as I do not like Colin Cowherd, he has had some good takes on the Vikings football this year.
Yeah, but he was talking about the Bears, and apparently Jim Harbaugh wanted to coach the Bears. He wanted to come there in the offseason before he went to the Chargers, and Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles decided they were going to stick with Matt Eberflus. And now, of course, Harbaugh is in Los Angeles and running the Chargers towards the playoffs, and the Bears are circling around like a boat with the rudder stuck at 90 degrees.
Yeah, Fred Warner playing with a broken ankle, too, as well. What a fucking tough son of a gun.
Yeah. Eberflus flew to Michigan for new offensive coordinator. Except Eberflus is a defensive guy, but yeah, sure, why not? I guess.
In my opinion, I know Drew says that San Francisco is not going to lose to Chicago in San Francisco, but I mean, in my opinion, both teams are playing with the flip of a coin at this point between those two. I'm going to go with San Francisco just because I don't like Chicago. Chicago could easily win this game too, in my opinion. I truly believe it's the flip of a coin at this point.
Yeah,
but I'm going to go with San Francisco with the win just because they're at home.
Yeah, I think it's a coin flip, but my long-winded circle around there was getting to the point where the Bears are a dysfunctional organization, and I don't know that an interim head coach right now is going to do much to help them. Now, to Brown's credit, I mean, he's gotten better games out of Caleb Williams the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, he has.
I think he's understands a little bit better how to use him. But that being said, their offensive line sucks. The defense is banged up, and San Francisco's playing for their lives right now. Chicago pretty much knows they got no chance at the playoffs. Right. San Francisco still does because the entire NFC West is not that great. So they're 2 games back from the division right now. And they know that they're going to to make the playoffs, they're going to have to win the division the way it looks. So I think they're going to fight hard. They'll probably sneak out. It's going to be another one like the last couple of weeks. The Bears are going to lose by 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ryan Day, no. Bears aren't worth discussion time. Yeah, we're just doing it because we hit them all. We do it every week. It's their dysfunction and not us. We could have had Ryan Poles, but he chose to go there.
Take the North and never give it back.
I don't know where he's taking it, but
he hasn't taken anything.
No. So anyway, that leads us to the creme de la creme, the main game of the weekend. 12 o'clock noon, U.S. Bank Stadium. Kirko whatever you want to call him, Kirk Cousins, coming back to Minnesota to take on our Minnesota Vikings. What do you got for this one, Brunswick?
Let's go 31-13 Vikings. But it's been 80%. It's one score game, so it wouldn't surprise me if it came down to 24, 17.
Yeah.
So, but I'd like to see a 31-13 victory, 31-10. Keep them out of the end zone, Be nice to get a defensive touchdown this week.
Yeah.
Or, something exciting on defense outside of just, I love turnovers, don't get me wrong, but a defensive touchdown would be fantastic.
Yeah. Kirko Staines after Sunday. Yeah, that works. That works too.
That's perfect.
I like that one. I'm going with that one. I think this is one of those games where, and a bunch of people said it in the chat tonight, the Vikings need to put together a complete game.
Oh, Jer.
Yeah, exactly, Jer. For a lot of the stuff we talked about, how well the Vikings know Kirk, know his weaknesses, know how to exploit that kind of stuff. I'm going to put the Vikings at a big win this week. I'm going to go 38.
Especially if last week Kirk shows up, Rhino.
Yep. I'm going to go 38-13. I'm going to give him a little bit bigger win than even what you gave it. So
hey, at least you're not going 50. My beard might be safe.
Hey, like I said, I want to see this team hang 40 on somebody yet this year. And this is as good a week as any.
It's been Jacksonville, maybe one time we laid 50 on. I don't know. That may have only been in the 40s.
No,
I don't know if I've ever seen anybody lay 50 on
56, I think, is the team record.
Okay.
But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that at all. I don't think it's going to get to that point, but I'll go 38 just because I want to see it, and we'll see what happens on Sunday. But yes, absolutely. Thank you, absolutely, Norsevius. Thank you for the reminder. If you have not done so, make sure you hit that like button. Hit the follow on Facebook, hit the subscribe on YouTube. Helps us out a ton. These live shows are awesome, guys. We love doing this. We love talking with you guys every week. You guys just come in throwing the great knowledge, the great discussion, the hilarious takes, all that stuff. I mean, it truly makes my week to be able to spend a couple hours talking football with you guys every week. So 59 is the team record. Okay. But yeah, so with that, big thank you again to everybody. Shout out to the Filipino fan club. Shout out to my lovely wife watching upstairs. And hey, let's go out and get a win Sunday. Go to 11-2. Keep the pressure on Detroit. And we got a lot of football yet to play this year, folks. And the odds are looking increasing in our favor that we'll get some bonus football other than the 17 regular season games.
I think we're at like 98.9% or 98%.
98% right now. Yeah. So with that, I hope you guys have a great weekend. Make sure you tune in Monday night, 7 o'clock for Rhino's Rants. We will go over all the goings on and the full recap of the Falcons game. And then stay tuned for next week's show. It's probably going to be a later evening show, probably a 9 o'clock show again next week, either Friday or Saturday.
The Norsevius special.
The Norsevius special, the late night pregame show. So with that, again, thank you, everybody. And why don't you take us home, Lance?
Absolutely. Everything Rhino just said. If you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe to the page, to the podcast, to the YouTube, to the Twitter, all that good stuff. I'm excited for Sunday. Let's go show Kirk what he's missing out on in Minnesota here. And let's go get us a big W on Sunday against Atlanta. That being said, we'll see y'all guys all next week. Millie and Aubrey, if you're out there watching, Dad loves and misses you. Skol.
Have a good weekend, everybody.